Check. Okay, thank you very much. I see everyone went for lunch, so we'll try and make it quick and sweet. Thank you very much for having me here. I came to Poland 10 years ago from Israel, and I really like to promote well-being and to help people and organizations to really take the step forward and to help them and help their employees with this process, which can be quite challenging. Like David says before, well-being is about one thing. It's about behavior change, and that is something that I can tell you for the last 15 years I've been doing it with clients and patients. It's very, very difficult to do. What I will show you today is our approach to well-being, how we do it, how we measure it, how we define it, and how we take it forward, and how we help companies really take the ESG to a new level. We know that well-being is part of the S part, of the social part of ESG, but now in the US they even started to push the idea of ESG, which stands for health, because we know that health and well-being is a core principle of a healthy and balanced society. Now, one of the core principles is, what is well-being? If I ask each and one of you, what is well-being for you, I will get a bit different answer. Naturally, we feel we know what well-being means, but it's really important that we'll talk in the same language. So well-being, for me, is really about being comfortable, healthy, and happy. Those are really, really important principles. And then the next step is, how do you measure this, right? One of the things that we look for, and we're trying to go forward, okay, is that if we don't measure something, we can't really manage it. And if you look at what's happening right now on the market with different companies, they don't really do that. They don't really take care of well-being as much as they should. And I think the first step is to know how your people, how your employees are doing. Then you can start really helping them out. So the first step is really to measure it, then you can start manage it, and really can go forward with that. So basically, the way I look at it is that if you go to a doctor and you open the door and you sit down and the doctor gives you a box of pills, of tablets, and that's it, he doesn't say anything else. This is how well-being right now is on the market, not just in Poland, all over the world. They just give the solutions to people. They don't ask them what is important for them, what would they like to have, what right now is the most critical aspect in their life. And if you don't ask it, people will not take it and will not use it. Now, I've been working for 15 years, both with individuals and with organizations. I really like the idea of understanding what a person needs, all the way up to the CEOs and the C-suite and management. And the way that we do it is through questionnaires, through different tools, and really getting the right data. And what I discovered is that what I do on individual level, I can also do on organizational level. So we partnered up with a company from Australia called Health and Safety Index, and together we created a dedicated tool to understand that, to understand what each individual person needs. And then we started to go forward with the idea, and we started to develop different tools and different ideas and systems, because we know that well-being is a priority for a lot of people right now. Just look at how many people are not happy where they work. They're not happy at home. They want something more, but they're not sure exactly what. We know right now that employees has the power. No longer employers just tell employees what to do. And this is especially true with the younger generation. All these kids we see here, the adolescents, the Gen Z, right now, everything that we see is even more so true for this generation. And what we see is that well-being has to be a priority for companies and organizations. And then we go forward. We go forward with the idea of how things are right now on the market. And we see what different organizations are offering. And we see, for example, that different companies offer different things, but people are not using it. Why they're not using it? Because they're not talking the same language. They don't know what their employees really want. They don't ask the right questions. So we see a lot of benefits, a lot of services, a lot of products that's supposed to benefit employees, but they don't really do it because people don't use it. And we see that again and again. We see it in different type of services. We see that different employers offer different health packages and benefits and gym cards and so on, but we see that the employees don't use it. We have to evolve, we have to go forward to well-being 2.0, to better understand people and what they want. Because right now, this model is broken. It is true in every country, every sector, every type of benefit. So what can we do with it, right? What can we do with this information? And we go forward and we see that people, employees and C-suite and management want the company to show that they take care of their employees. We see 77% of C-suite really want the company to share that information, those metrics, this data, because they know that if a company cares about their employees, the employees will care about them. And this is something that they want, and right now we don't have enough tools to do that and to show that. And based on that, we developed the Well Check. The Well Check is a simple questionnaire that asks the right questions. It's a quick one, 10 minutes. And then asking the right questions, we can get the right answers and we can actually do something with that information. So, quick 10 seconds, simple questionnaire. We ask the right things, the right questions. It's all protected. And going forward from there, we actually define what well-being is. So 4 elements we focus, 4 elements that we believe is true for every one of you. So first of all, we have cognitive well-being. Cognitive meaning cognitia, everything to do with knowledge-based solutions, multitasking, concentration, focus. Do you feel sometimes towards the evening or maybe after lunch it's hard to focus, right? Or in a knowledge-based industries like IT and tech, they see it all the time. Game development industry is a very prime example of that. So we see a lot of people starting to feel harder to be productive, they feel tired, and over the months and over the years, they just quit, they burn out. Burnout rates are in the roof. Today, in this year in January, burnout in Poland has become a L4 legitimate reason for the doctor to give you a sick leave. This is a huge problem. So cognitive health is very, very important. Then we go to psychosocial. Psychosocial sometimes is called mental health. Now, I don't like the term mental health. Mental in English, when you say someone's mental, is a little bit szalone, right? A little bit crazy. And in Polish, zdrowa psychiczna, right? Psychiczna. A bit like pathologia, a bit like clinical stuff, right? A little bit stigmatic. So I want to change that. And by changing the term, changing the word, you can change the attitude towards it. It's no longer a shame to go to a therapist, psychologist, psychiatrist. So we call it psychosocial model, psychosocial well-being. The third one is physical health. This is obvious, but in physical health we include sleep health, right? How well you sleep, nutrition, how active you are, what type of activity. We really go deep because we know people need it. And lastly, we added financial health. Cost of living is going to get worse and more difficult and challenging. And we believe that organizations and companies should take part in helping people to manage this situation. And just a few examples how it looks like. So basically, when we go into cognitive health, we have different habits that we talked about, different elements that affect a person. Right? If you would like to continue to work in the line of work that you have that is very intensive, you need to take care of yourself. You need to take care of how your body is and how your mind is. If you look at psychosocial health, for example, we ask about how the manager, how you're dealing with leadership. Very common phenomenon we see is that employees don't feel comfortable to open up to leadership, to managers. In Israel, we say everything. We don't hold back, right? We say too much. But here in Poland and in Europe, people just hold back a little bit, right? They don't share everything. And then month after month, year after year, people will say, I just had it. Toxic environment, right? So we can help leaders and managers together to work with employees. Physical health is also about finding what a person needs, right? So I had one interview with an employee, a young lady, a mom, first child, and she came to me and she says, I want to lose some weight. And she's like that, she's 45 kilos. And for me, it's a red flag. So I started asking, how do you feel? How are you sleeping? And she said, well, you know what? I didn't have a period for 2 years. That's a huge red flag. So of course I referred her to a gynecologist and a therapist, and now she's healthier and she's doing better. But if we didn't reach this person in time, then who knows what would happen. So really we need to understand the individual. Now, how does this well check look like? This is the dashboard. This is what in the end we produce, a detailed report of either organization or the individual. At the upper left part, we can see the score. This is a general score. This is very important when we think on the future and what will happen with ESG reporting. What will happen is that companies will start competing with each other. Who has a better score? Who's the best employer, right? So we already have that built in. We can analyze specific type of health, and we can analyze specific elements, sources and outcomes. So if a company says, look, we have a problem with engagement. Right now, a lot of companies, they want to bring back people to the office, right? But people don't want to go back to the office. Understandable. So we need to understand why and how to help them. Burnout is going to be something you're going to hear a lot about, and it's going to be bigger and bigger issue. Burnout is professional burnout, meaning you just can't continue to work, you feel overloaded, you can't sleep, you can't eat, or you compensate with food, what is called emotional eating, right? So that's going to be a huge issue. It's already a huge issue, but we don't have the data to show it, and that's really important, to show the data. And this is our benchmark. Whenever we compare something, we need to show a comparison to what? To a benchmark. How far are we from the average? Is it okay? Is it not? And that's what we show the company. When we show this to the company, the managers, the HR managers, the CFO, the CEO, they're shocked. Because they're sure everything is fine. Why? Because the employees don't say anything. But of course they won't say anything because they're not going to say, they tell the managers that they are not happy with them, right? So this is very important to show the benchmark, to show how they perform over time. Now we go forward, how we can show different elements of this report. So we can go very deep depending on what the company needs. We can go into each element, we can go into each benchmark, but we can go forward. This is a heat map. This is how we can show different locations. So we had companies, for example, all across Poland, so we can compare between the offices. And one client, for example, had in Piaseczno a great score. Everyone's happy. And then we started to dig deeper, and then what we saw that they don't have management with them, right? So they're free to be flexible and to really work how they want, and this was reflected in their psychosocial health, in their well-being, right? So we can address that as well. It can be teams, it can be different regions, offices, management versus non-management. So the idea is to help the company have the right data and make the right decisions and go forward, because we don't have time. We really need to help them go forward. And the way we do this is that we started to collaborate with the real estate sector. So the real estate sector, in our eyes, is a great opportunity to reach many people at the same time. Like we don't have a planet B, we also don't have time to wait for people to burn out. We need to find them, help them, support companies, and really help them improve. So through the real estate ecosystem that we're building, we're working both with developers, property managers, platform, co-working spaces. We can reach a lot of people at the same time. And what we see the same picture everywhere. People are too tired, they're too burned out, they don't eat well, they don't exercise well, right? But when you show this to the management in numbers, that's how you can really get them to put a budget, get investment in, and really push forward. And this will be very important, and as ESG will become more commonplace, this will be very helpful for them. Because right now, when I talk to companies, you have two groups of companies. One that doesn't know anything about ESG, never heard of it, don't know what it is. Second group, they know exactly what it is, they have a team in place, they have a person dedicated. And that's what we need to do. We need to help companies make the right decisions because we know the situation is bad, they need our help, and that's how we help them do that. So one of the ways is going through the real estate sector, getting to as many people as possible. And basically, how it works in practice, it's very simple. We sit down with each individual company, we understand the culture, we understand how they communicate with people. A lot of times we see that companies just don't communicate properly with their employees. For example, each time you get an email from HR, it's something bad, right? Something that they have to address, something formal, right? It's never like informal, something nice, fun. Very often it's very strict, and what this creates, it creates a channel of communication that is only surface level. So employees don't feel open to really talk about what bothers them. So we work with each company to understand what they need, what they want, what is important for them. And then we start the process. We just work internally, sending information, helping them to take part in this tool. We created a great employee value proposition for employees. So every time someone participates in the well check, they get a set of promotions and bonuses and benefits they can use. Benefits that are connected with the well check. So the whole ecosystem in the company has to change. And having these metrics, this data, maybe it's not the most sexy thing in the world, but this is what brings the budget, this is what brings the investment, and in the end of the day, this is what brings the benefit for the employee. So this was a very, very short introduction to what we do and why we do it, why it's important, I think. I think what we'll see in the coming years is more and more focus on well-being, more talk about it, more people admitting they're going to a psychologist or a therapist, more people admitting that they need help, and it's okay. And this is the path, this is the direction we want to get. We want to get to the point where we can really help those people who need us most. So, this was all of it, very short. You can go eat something. Thank you very much.